Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video and share what God has taught me over the past, half week, a week or so. It's been a long journey. I've been through a lot. Um, I'm pretty much exhausted physically, psychologically. It's been a long haul, but I've learned many of things. Forgiveness, man, it just goes on and on. But if you're going through something, instead of fighting it off yourself, like trying to be resistant to it, I'm not saying that you should never just, I'm not saying you should just, you know, be idle the whole time. But when you're a child of God, um, when you're a child of God, like a legitimate child of God, um, it's very important seek God on this. You know, like if you're in a certain situation, great, God knows your weaknesses, and He's not gonna. I mean, it's he knows your weaknesses. I mean, he's known your weaknesses since before time even existed. God does not exist in time. We exist in time, but um, grace is very important for your walk with God, because when you're operating outside of grace, that's self-righteousness, which is pride. And that's exactly what I've been doing forever. That's why I'm so exhausted. That's why when I come on here I fight for words, because I'm exhausted. Um um like right now it's just like, dude, I'm just exhausted. Like really, people think that living for God is just a crutch. It's not, man. Living for the world is easy. Living for God is it's rewarding, but it's anything but easy. Trust me. You have to be a real soldier, whether you're a guy or a girl, okay, to live for God. To live for the world is nothing. It takes no effort, man. Really, it doesn't. But man, whew. Grace is sufficient. Grace is sufficient for your journey with God. God knows your weaknesses, and you know that's all there is to it. So just rest in His grace. Grace means a gift that's not deserved. It doesn't mean that you could just go out and sin willfully. There's a difference between struggling with something and then just running off to the world and abusing grace. There's people out there that just think they could say a prayer and say, "Okay, God, come into my life, change me," and then just run back to the world and live off Daddy's grace. That's not how it happens. That's not how it's supposed to be. You can't have your foot in the one foot in the world and one foot out of the world. Now that's not what I did personally. I didn't go like just say, "Okay, God, let's have a relationship," and then just go run out to the world. That's not what I did. I did the opposite of that. I didn't want to sin. I wanted no part of sin. Like really, I didn't. Um, but instead of leaning on the power of God, and I was still operating in unbelief, which is just as, in my opinion, I don't know, is just as bad as going out to the world, because that's unbelief too. It's just opposite ends of the spectrum. I was still operating under unbelief because I wasn't resting in God's grace. God died so He can help me overcome, you know, my obstacles, like He did like He did so you can overcome your obstacles. But the main one of the main ingredients, well, the main ingredients is His finished work. Keep your focus there and keep it there. But aside from that, it's grace, 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 grace. We are a fallen we're a fallen race, and God died so He can gut you, so He can gut out all the worldliness up out of you, so He can restore you, to be the person that you were created to be before the fall. And you could read about the fall of humanity in the book of Genesis, the very beginning. Um, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. Grace is very important, and if you're operating outside of grace, well, then you're operating in unbelief. You may as well be out there running around in the world. I mean, honestly, like I said, I'm new in this, man. There's lessons to be learned. I mean, when you learn to ride a bike, you're gonna fall off a few times. You might even bump your head and get scraped up and bloody. It is what it is. Sometimes you got to fall on your face to learn your lesson, and that's what I've done over the past half a week or week or so. You know, grace is very, very important. Now, there again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, I repeat myself because I feel like it's my way of emphasizing things, because I know, like with me, sometimes I just it goes in one ear and out the other. So when I emphasize something 9 times out of 10, it's because I'm trying to hit home on something. And grace is very, very important. You have to rest in that, because if you're not resting in God's grace, now if you're not resting in God's grace, he can't do his work in you. When you're weak, he's strong. Because as long as you're strong, I don't know if he's out, but he's not. He's not being God. He's not. Nobody's saying that you have to walk around and be a zombie just so God could be strong. Because God, I don't think God wants that either. But there's a difference between, you don't have to, when I mean weak, it's just give it to God, man. But don't go out in the world and use grace as an excuse. Don't sin just so grace could be, handed to you. Grace is there if you need it. It's not there to be abused. But I didn't know I was abusing grace, but I was. I just didn't know it. I wasn't doing it willfully. I just didn't know it. I was ignorant. So, but again, there's a difference between struggling with something versus versus doing something willfully. I mean, if you know better and you don't do better, well, then that's a willful sin. Especially when you do it over and over and over and over again, and then just say, "Oh, God knows my heart. God knows my heart. God knows me. He knows. God knows better." There's people out there that do stuff like that, and that's not good either. But I don't know. I just wanted to make a video really quick. So for anybody out there who is considering coming to Jesus, or might be struggling with the same thing I was struggling with, so just rest in his grace. He already knows your struggles. He's known your struggles before you were even born. He's not the cause of your struggles, but he's trust me, he's not just one step ahead of you in your problems. He's 100 million 10. I mean, God knows, man. God, I mean, come on, man. I can't even describe. Neither can you, neither can anybody. But trust me, I do know this much, that God knows your problems, and grace is more than sufficient. And that's what I've learned. Have a nice day.